Welcome back to Call for Help. Whether you have 1 hard drive or 100 hard drives, partitioning is something every computer user should know about. You may not want to do it, but you need to know about it so you can make the decision. We decided to bring in Roger Chang to help us out and present us with the beginner's guide to hard drive partitioning.
Yes.
Now, what is partitioning?
Partitioning is simply taking one physical hard drive and divvying it out into virtual or separate partitions.
Sometimes they call them logical hard drives.
Logical hard drives.
Because they're not physical. They're imaginary.
Imagine a space in an office. That's a hard drive. Then when you stick the cubicles up, that's when you start partitioning out stuff so everyone has their own little space.
Now, why would you do that?
Well, let's bring in the Call for Help players.
All right, it's time. This is something I wanted to do for a long time.
This way.
Bring back the Call for Help.
First, we have Windows 2000.
Let's start right here. Now, wait a minute. Before we do this, we have to explain.
Okay.
This is the hard drive.
This is our hard drive.
This is the hard drive. We've created a virtual hard drive. So it's this would be an unpartitioned hard drive.
Yes, this is
one space. So you'd install Windows 2000, played by the lovely Fawn Luu, and you can come on in here. And she's the operating system. All right, and she can occupy this completely, right?
Fine. And
no
then
problem.
Let's say we want to play a game like Covert Ops.
Well, Morgan's got to be our gamer here, so she's Covert Ops. She gets in the hard drive.
And, you know, sometimes this game gets a little flat, but, you know, hey. Now, let's say we want to get some serious work done. Then we go to our Adobe Premiere guide.
Some applications get installed. We've got Call to Power. Bring them all in. Bring everything in. Okay, so we've got, now the problem is, what if we want to uninstall Windows here? We can't really, and they're all kind of muddled together, right?
They're actually kind of attached.
Yeah.
And if something happens to Fawn here, well, I'm afraid something's going to happen to Morgan and our call screener
and the worst
intern
case
we just got.
Our new intern, we don't want to lose because, you know. So then the worst case is your data is also in there, and it's all mixed up together, which can cause fragmentation issues, right?
Fragmentation, you have data loss issues, which, you know, you don't want to lose your data.
Covert Ops could accidentally overwrite your pictures of your Hawaii vacation. That wouldn't be good.
Unless you like shooting Hawaii. Now, like, for example, I want to install another operating system, so, Dan, swing around.
Oh, now this is the worst case.
Now we're going to put Linux. Granted, it's only
Linux 6.1. Oh, no, here comes Red Hat. Dan in a red hat.
Yes. Now he's just going to overcome, you know, he's going to try to get, you know,
Windows doesn't get along. Wait a minute. We're going to have a fight in our boxes. Stop. Time out. Ding, ding, ding. Everybody out. Everybody out of the pool. Doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work.
It becomes cluttered, data problems, and you certainly can't do multiple operating systems.
It's like a Jerry Springer episode. Nothing's good.
So what are we going to do? We're going to divide this big hard drive up.
We're going to take this hard drive and we're going to partition it so it's more than just one partition, but rather, in this case, 4, if you could actually.
So we're quartering it, actually.
We're quartering it.
Okay. And that will turn it into spaces that the different parts of the computer can occupy.
Exactly. So now we can have Fawn.
One partition just for the operating system?
So we just...
Come on in there, Fawn. Watch your hat.
This is 2000.
She has her own partition.
She has her own partition. Now we can...
What else would you want to put in its own partition?
We would actually put, for example, Red Hat.
Red Hat would get its own partition.
Now,
come here.
Now we could get him, and now, because they're in their own partitions, they're not going to... Whoops.
And they can't fight because they can't even see each other.
No, they don't see. They're like mimes. They're like mimes. They're in their own world.
Now, I also like to keep data in its own partition, so let's just keep this clear.
That's
for pictures, for media,
for your
documents.
Anything exactly. We want to do Word documents. We want to do image. We put all our data that we want to archive at some later date. We put in its own partition so nothing happens.
And all the
then
applications
we can get the rest of the kids in.
Can hang out here.
So,
sometimes if you can make as many partitions as you want, up to like I think 32 partitions. So you could have games have their own partition.
But you know, you got to be careful because there's a limit to the efficiency you gain, and if you actually partition too much, you actually might start losing that efficiency.
Right.
Now, Red Hat, of course, is fighting the world.
But he
as
can't.
always. But he can't.
Another nice thing about this is you can boot from one of the, you could tell a computer, boot to this partition today, boot to that partition tomorrow, so you can have different operating systems.
And they're both going to be happy. They can still touch hands with the game if need be. Well, actually not this game, but probably the Premiere file.
And your data is certainly visible from.
And you know, Fawn can touch hands with everyone else, but they're still in there. So if something happens to Dan and he no longer works, is out.
We take him out, but everything's still the same.
Everything still works. Just this portion, I can just rework and reconstitute Dan in a newer, more, perhaps better form.
Thank you to the Call for Help players, ladies and gentlemen. A great job. Well done. Now you understand how partitions work. The idea is we take one big hard drive and we use software to divide it up into smaller hard drives for different things.
That the computer would see as a separate hard drive.
So now let's take a look at actually how you do it on a computer.
Now, I'm using a program called Partition Magic from PowerQuest. And the reason why I like it is because it lets you what they call non-destructive partitioning.
Yeah, we should point out that normally when you partition, you do it when you're first installing the hard drive using F-disk or the Windows installer, and it destroys all the data. You have to have empty disks.
It was meant for people with brand new hard drives or brand new PC, and you would partition it without having to worry about data that did not exist.
But if you're watching this show and saying, well, shoot, I forgot to do that when I first installed the system, you don't have to rearrange everything, erase your whole hard drive and reinstall.
It's very simple. As you can see here, we have 2 hard drives.
2 installed.
And
2 physical. That is important.
2 physical.
Disk 1 and Disk 2 are actual physical hard drives.
These are 2 physical hard drives within the machine itself. And I've taken the first hard drive and actually separated those into 2 partitions.
There's a Linux partition and a Windows.
And a Windows partition. Now, oftentimes when on the second drive, because all my PCs have second hard drives, I actually create. Let me resize. Oh, it's gonna
this is how you actually change the partition?
This is how you change the partition. I right-click on it, and I basically have to resize first because I already occupied all the space, so I need to make room.
Shrink it.
So I'm going to shrink it, and I'm going to shrink it as much. Let's shrink it as far as the other. Let's shrink it up to here.
Okay. So now you've created unallocated space here.
Now, what I can do with this space, and what I often do, is actually create believe it or not, I create a swap file.
Now, why would you create? Now, swap file normally exists in the same directory as the C drive, the Windows drive.
Windows.
Why would you put it on a separate partition?
I put it on a separate partition, especially because I can cram it toward the front of the drive, is because the way hard drives work, the data that's actually on the outside of a circle tends to spin faster than one at the middle.
So you're putting this in front so it'll be faster.
It'll be faster, and I generally find that it's just a little more efficient than having the drive access the same time for not only program launching, but also swap file access. And I find it just runs a little smoother if it's on separate.
This is actually a very useful technique. I know on Macintoshes about a 20% improvement in performance, and I think comparable in Windows because you don't have fragmentation. As you say, you're not having the head having to move all over the hard drive. That's a really good idea. Separate hard drive at the front.
I create one for data. In this case, we actually call it backup, but this is actually all our data. These are MP3s, these are images, these are Word documents. So if anything happens to Windows, I still have my data. I can go back and reinstall Windows without having to worry, oh my gosh, I lost all my work. I'm not going to have a job tomorrow morning. I can go back, hey boss, I just need to reinstall Windows. I'll get all that.
My data's still there.
My data's still there. I can send it to you this afternoon. And I also, actually, believe it or not, I create a separate one for downloads because that way I can run a separate antivirus scan on that entire partition whenever I download it, just in case I'm getting a little paranoid.
What a good idea, and that kind of separates it. Now remember, programs can read other partitions, so it's not completely separated.
It's not like, you know, land of the lost, you're never going to reach these people again. You can still see them, you can deal with them, they're your neighbors. But, you know, something happens in your household, it's not going to affect the neighbor's household.
There are a lot of rules about what kinds of drives there are and so forth. That's more advanced. The nice thing about a program like Partition Magic, it does it all for you. You don't
Plus,
have to
it comes with I didn't go through it, but it has a wizard, so if you're kind of new to it, it will actually kind of walk you through the steps and give you a yes or no.
Not a free program.
Not a free program. It has a demo version that'll let you do all this. It won't let you change anything, but you can kind of
try it out.
You can try it out without actually changing anything. But I actually highly recommend it for anyone who really wants to consider actually.
Now, if we apply these changes, we're going to just mess up that hard drive, so we won't do it. But we should point out, it's not as fast as what we just did.
No,
you're setting it up, and then
as soon as I send it up, it reboots, and then it will start, and it's probably best to have dinner, watch a movie, and come back.
It's going to take a while
when it's finished.
How much is Partition Magic?
I believe
it's like $79.
I believe 60, 70 bucks around there.
Okay.
Again, there's a demo version. There are other free ones that I've seen, but none of them work as well as Partition Magic.
I've tried them all. I can't recommend any of them. Partition Magic is the one. There are some other companies that make commercial versions that work too.
And the beauty is, of course, you can not only do Windows, you can also do Linux. And I think they put in a Unix or a Mac OS X partition in the latest version.
Neat. Oh, that's neat.
I believe.
Roger, you've explained this all beautifully. I want to thank you. I want to thank the Call for Help players for wearing silly hats on their heads.
Software boxes.
Software boxes, and I want to thank you for watching. If you want to know more about hard drive partitioning, I hope this has helped. I hope it makes it a little bit clearer. Visit our website. The address is techtv.com/call for help.